Ready. Good afternoon, everyone in Spanish United. This is Enrique, the founder and director. Today, on this afternoon on Saturday, I have a special guest. Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself to the audience?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today. My name is Rene Trevino, and I'm the mayor for the city of Artesia. So I'm very happy to be here today.
It's a pleasure to have you on my show. I've been to Artesia many times. It's a very nice city. What it amazes me that it's kind of like an ethnic enclave. It kind of feels like being like in India. It's very nice, colorful, especially when they have the Diwali festival. So I've always thought Artesia is kind of like a unique city in California because you don't see too many ethnic enclaves that has a huge Indian, South Asian population.
Artesia is a melting pot, to be very honest with you. And we have over 20 different churches in our city of different denominations. We speak almost, I think, close to 15 to 20 different languages.
Oh, wow.
On a regular basis. The Indian community is very dominant here. We also have the Portuguese community, the Dutch, and the Hispanic community. We have an enormous amount of Hispanic people that live in Artesia and call Artesia home. You do have a sense of Little India. I know the city of Artesia has been dubbed that by Google. Many times you'll hear the reference Little India. And we do have a vibrant downtown, which is really a cultural destination for many people. We have Indian shops, Indian restaurants. We have a large influence of South Asian businesses and entrepreneurs in Artesia. We're only a mile and a half wide. We're about 1.7, 1.6 miles wide. So we're a tiny little city, but the Hispanic community is very, very present in Artesia. And that is very exciting. I'm Hispanic. My grandparents were from Sonora and Chihuahua. My mother was born here in Los Angeles. And I have a strong love for Artesia simply because it really is diverse, but the Hispanic community is truly amazing. And I think one of our best attended festivals is the Mariachi Festival that we have. We didn't have it last year because of COVID-19, but we did have it in 2019. We've got it scheduled again for early spring of next year, and it was packed. So there is a huge Hispanic population here in Artesia, and I absolutely love it.
Awesome. When I first found out about you, I thought you were Italian because the last name doesn't sound Spanish, sounds Italian.
Well, if you ask my grandfather, God bless his soul, he would always pronounce our last name as Trevino. So you said, make sure you have the enye above the N. If not, it's going to get lost in the translation, and they're gonna think you're not Hispanic or not Mexican.
Right.
So I always, when I'm introducing myself to people or speaking at an event or whatever it may be, if I'm talking to someone of Spanish descent, or I think they're Spanish descent, I'll always say Trevino, and they perk right up and, oh, okay. So, it's an immediate bond. It's an immediate connection.
Awesome. And I would also recommend that, if you're doing like official, introductions, like, especially when you have it, like, giving like a business card or a name, sometimes they won't have the N yet. Always make sure that it's there because people might mispronounce your name.
Right. No, exactly. I've been confused for Italian descent many times. So
awesome. Yeah. So this is a very important topic. I'm so glad to know that you're also a fellow Hispanic. Hispanophobia, as you probably know, is a reoccurring phenomenon in America, and I feel that it's really gotten out of control. But for some reason, we don't really hear about it. I don't know if it has to do because it's either underreported or the authorities choose not to prosecute it, because I feel that Hispanics in America are one of the most persecuted people in America, even though we're the largest minority, but at the same time, we are very silent. Like, every time something happens to someone that is African American or Jewish or now Asian, the whole world knows about it. But when something happens to people of our community that happens on a reoccurring daily basis. It's like it barely gets any news coverage. And what my organization does is that we expose these types of things that are happening in the community to get people to come forward, and also to have discussions, and also to dialogue and to lobby for changes in the laws, because Hispanics, since we're not considered a race, we are an ethnicity. We're not classified as a race, so it's like it's hard to prosecute people when they commit a hate crime against Hispanic people. It just gets treated as a regular crime, and they don't put the hate crime and actions, when someone does something against someone of Latin descent. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to make aware about, and also that Hispanics could have minority protections, and also to be recognized as a third minority, because historically, white and black has always been the two dominant groups in this country. Hispanics are being a visible group of people, and we're gaining more influence every single day through economics, through education, through politics. I feel that even to this day, we're still not represented. It's like we're here, but we're still invisible when it comes to a lot of things. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to do, is to reach out to different people, especially politicians, civil leaders, etc., to express the issue of Hispanophobia, how to deal with it, how to combat it, and how we can address it. So that's part of the first question. And part one of that question would be, as someone of Hispanic descent in the city of Artesia, have you witnessed or been aware of any type of Hispanophobia incidents, or any type of things that may have happened within the city?
You know, and I'm glad that you're championing this cause, because many times, and I want to say this with all sincerity, I'm not speaking against any particular group. I'm not speaking against any type of culture or race or anything of that nature. I have attended too many anti-hate rallies. We've hosted a couple here in the city. We've gone to a couple in Cerritos. We've attended some in the LA County area within our region. And it's anti-hate, it's predominantly Asian hate, Stop Asian Hate. That's been the outcry. I have a lot of friends that are Asian American. I have a lot of friends that will tell you that it's been happening for years. And it has been happening to Hispanics as well. It's been happening to Hispanics, whether through comments that are made. It's been happening through discrimination. It's been happening because of all this attention that comes from the border situation. And obviously that is a situation that some people will spin it, well, they're breaking the law, it's Hispanics, it's people of Latin origin that are breaking the law, trying to get into this country. Well, my grandfather and grandmother came over this country in the late 1800s. And obviously it was much different back then than it is now. But they raised my mother and my uncles and aunts to be hardworking people. They taught them values. They taught them ethics. And I remember stories about my grandfather when he was working as a sheet metalist during the day. He would clean the Catholic Church and the school at night, 7 nights a week, so that his kids could have a private school education. That's how he got them through. And it's always this connotation. There's always this reference that the border situation, and it really, you have to understand why people are trying to get into this country. Now, I believe in following all the laws. I'm law abiding. I follow all the laws. But you have to understand the dire need for people that are at the border trying to get into this country. I understand there's a process, but sometimes things get so bad that you've got to overlook the process. But growing up in East LA, I'm a product of East LA. I've lived here in Artesia for 12 years. I love Artesia. It's been a great city to me and my godson. And growing up in East LA, the racial slurs have been there for years. They've been there against Hispanics. They've been there against Blacks. They've been there against Asians. They've been there for everybody. But now through social media, now with everybody carrying an iPhone with a camera and access to the internet, you now see all these incidents play out in real time. And I'm not justifying it, but I'm certainly saying they've been there for a long time. So have I seen things in Artesia? Yes, I have. I have seen Hispanics get talked down to. I've seen Hispanics get called different racial slurs. I'm not going to repeat. Epithets. Thank you. I've seen people speak to Hispanic workers with disrespect. And God only knows what else goes on, but I have seen it. And it is this mindset that cultures are beneath some people, and it shouldn't be that way. We all, I don't want to sound like a politician, but we all breathe the same air, we bleed the same blood, and we all share this land together. And we've got to work to remember that. So I have seen it, and through our city council, through this pandemic, it's really brought out the efforts to try to understand, to try to share that we are in this together, and not to play on the words of the pandemic, but to say, look, every person plays a role in our society, and they should be treated with respect, grace, and dignity, whether you're that janitor like my grandfather cleaning up the church at night, or you're a CEO of a company.
Right.
So it has been there, and we've got to work to change that mindset over time.
Yes, and I think it has to do more with education, because as people tend to self segregate, they become insular, and that is a major problem. And with many Hispanic people in many communities, because many don't speak the language, or because they're undocumented, whatever, they tend to become insular. And what happens is that it causes stigma and mistrust. So I think it's very important that education starts, especially when they are children. Like, I really believe that there should be Hispanic sensitivity classes, like probably from first grade, where students can understand, things about Hispanic culture, understand where they come from, who they are, and at the same time to integrate and to expose them to others, so that way people can know who Hispanic people are. Because even though Hispanics are here, I feel that many people tend to see Hispanics to be more as something exotic and foreign than to be part of the American narrative. So I feel that education needs to start from from first grade up until high school, and at the same time, there needs to be more Hispanic teachers, because I feel that we have a lot of domestic workers, but we don't have too many civil workers. We don't have too many public servants. We don't have too many of the educated class that can do a lot for the community. And one thing that I have to say about the Indian community in particular, even though they are small, not only that they've been able to exceed a lot of other people, but what I've noticed about them is that they help each other out, they invest in each other, and they do what they can to minimize juvenile delinquency and other problems. And I think that is something that's very important when you have resources that are funneled into a community, that can work wonders. And I feel that if the Hispanic community were to invest in its people instead of investing out, or let's say one becomes wealthy and decides to leave and forget about where they come from, it doesn't serve any purpose. I understand people, want to have good economic opportunities, and they move away, but I feel that they should give back. And one way they could give back is by investing in courses, investing in community centers. Like, I don't see too many community centers that are Hispanic, in the United States. You don't see too many cultural centers. You don't see too many like tutoring centers where kids can go after school to keep themselves busy and do sports, play video games, or even get tutoring for their courses. And that's hurting our people. Like I see that the Indians, they come from a country that is probably more not as developed as many countries in Latin America, but they are like one of the highest income earners in the United States, second and third probably to American Jews and to Chinese Americans. So,
Sure.
they're doing something right that we're not doing. So I feel that we need to focus more on education and not have the stigma that is only reachable if you're white or Asian or rich. Because a lot of
Right.
Hispanics, not all, but it's like they feel that they can get an education or they're like scared of it. So I feel that we need to get the people to be more focused and to encourage education. It's like I understand when people come to this country as immigrants, especially when they're older, it's harder to get educated. I understand that, but I feel that we need to start with the children and the children's children because that's the only way one can break the cycle of poverty, and it's through education.
You're completely right. And I will go to add this. It is about education. I completely agree with you on that. We need to do a better job in providing more resources to the Hispanic community to make sure that the kids finish high school, and that all starts at an early age.
Mhm.
In the city of Artesia, we have a teen center that is located at AJ Paddleford Park, and that area predominantly is our Hispanic community. And those children need that opportunity to be able to go to the teen center at the park, to be able to engage with mentors, to be able to get homework assistance, to learn about school, to learn about summer activities, to further their exploration of society, to get out, to go to a museum, to go to the parks, to engage with other kids of similar of ages and things of that nature, so they can experience things. So they, and the old saying is keep the kids off the street, right?
Exactly.
But you also have to expose them to things that are going to benefit them, to mentor programs, to tutorships, to museums, to things where they can actually grasp onto various resources that will help them. So we need to nurture them from a very young age, get them into high school, get them involved, keep them involved in sports, extracurricular clubs. Let's get more of those kids into those AP classes. And you'll see that once they're given those opportunities and they understand that they can succeed, they will get into those schools. I'm very proud of one of my young coworkers at our company. He just got accepted to Oregon State, and he's up there right now. First time living away from home, going to Oregon State, and his father's a business owner, Latin business owner, and I'm very happy for him. But the thing that he believes is that he has to give back, and he also has to help others get to that same point. And if we as a Hispanic community help others rise as we do, then we're going to make a difference. It's not about me leaving East LA to come live in Artesia with my godson and such. It's about what can I do in my own small way to help others rise, to give them opportunity, to give them a sense of belonging and empower them to do things. In 2019, before the pandemic, I had the honor of meeting Dolores Huerta. We were at an event together in Downey. It was amazing. We have a tremendous assemblywoman, Cristina Garcia, another advocate for Latinos in sharing resources to make sure that we all have great opportunities. We have a great senator in Bob Archuleta that is also an advocate. One of our new state senators, Alex Padilla, another Latino, we need to continue this trend of saying that, hey, yes, you can set your mind on something, you can set a goal, and you can work toward reaching it. And the rest of us have to help them along and empower
Absolutely.
them and provide their resources.
Absolutely. The elders have to be the examples. Like, we can't say, for example, oh, don't, stop smoking or stop drinking when the one that's being the example is not doing it. They have to set the example
Exactly.
first, and therefore be the example to others, because people don't realize that children live by examples. Like, the first 6 years of life that a child has, the first teacher that they're going to have, even before they step foot into a preschool, is going to be their parents.
Right.
And a lot of parents don't realize that, you have to watch how you behave and act around your children, because just because a 3-year-old doesn't speak or tell you things doesn't mean that they're not observing what you're doing. A lot of people have that misconception. So we have to be very careful how we behave and act around our children, because that will imprint on that child's mind in the first 6 years of life. And then from there, it depends on how the child will develop, emotionally, mentally, and so forth. So I think it's very important that there's more role models in the communities that are not the cholos or the gangbangers or the people that ride the lowrider cars, because it gives a bad image of our people. It's like, I would like to see more people that are like doctors, engineers, people that we could be proud of, instead of just
Absolutely.
wanting to be entertainers or rappers. It's like, it's sad that a lot of our Hispanic youth, a lot of, not all, but many, think being a rapper or being a whatever is a better career choice, because it's access to easy money, but they don't look at the long term. Yeah, it's good that they have that money at the moment, but it's temporarily. Yeah, and if they don't know how to invest it properly, um, they can blow it all within a couple of days or a couple of months.
No, and you're absolutely right. Money's temporary. Money will come and go. But the values that are taught from the first 6, 7 years of a young person's life are going to be with him forever. That's when the foundation of not just behavior, but of work ethic, structure, respect, planning, setting out a schedule, all those things. I remember my mother on Saturdays. There was no laying around for me. There was no laying around till 10, 11, 12 o'clock in bed. I got up 8 o'clock. We had breakfast. I was raised by a single mother. We had breakfast. We'd clean the house. We'd do some yard work. We'd run some errands. We'd go to the market. We'd do these things. And it was every Saturday. We were done by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think back to that, and that's what I do on Saturdays now. I don't relax. I don't kick back and take it easy. I get up in the morning. I have my cup of coffee. I set my 5-6 hours, and I go and I get my stuff done. And that's a work ethic that was instilled in me when I was little. It didn't happen to me when I was 35. It happened to me when my mother would say, let's get up, help me mop the floor, help me dust the tables, help me pick up the clothes. And we did it. And those are things that are taught. But at the same time, the elders in the community, the leaders, the people that are going to set the tone are the ones that have to give back and to help each other out. And doctors and lawyers are wonderful, but so are firefighters and policemen and nurses, and business owners and entrepreneurs. Those people are also important in the process. It is about giving back to the community and helping others get to
Exactly.
where they need to be. And that's so important nowadays. There's plenty of opportunity out there. We have to do a better job of educating, organizing, through the web, through the internet, social media. Everybody's got a smartphone nowadays. Getting that information out there is not challenging, but it has to be consistent. It has to be consistent so that people can always go and find something that will empower them in that particular area that they're looking to get into.
Right, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with my organization is to empower people that to take back what's been taken from them, and also to take a stand for doing the right thing and also being in the service of others. Like my organization is a grassroots movement. You know, it started about a year ago, and it started with 10 people, and it's grown to about 1,000 people. And
Wow, good
you
for
know,
you.
thank you,
Congratulations.
thank you. And I have directors and chapters in different states. But you know, one thing that I'm trying to do is that I want to partner with different cities and towns to do sponsorships or funding to set up community centers in different areas where you have a Hispanic population, where we can provide these skills to the community. At the same time, people that are volunteers that are productive, but if they could volunteer some time into these community centers, that's another way of giving back. Because giving back is not necessarily giving financial; it's also volunteering your 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 time. So I think it's very
Absolutely.
important. I think it's very important when people invest time into the community, it could do a lot of wonders. So you know,
Oh, time is something that we can never get back, and it is so important. And time is something that we can give, and we can make an immediate impact, because person-to-person contact. Let's forget about the pandemic for a minute, but person-to-person contact is the most effective way of communicating. Looking into somebody's eyes, sharing ideas, listening to them, listening to their concerns and their challenges, and then finding some kind of bridge that we can provide them to get them over that hurdle is extremely important. And a lot of it is done face to face in small settings, group meetings, group presentations. I will never turn down an opportunity to speak at a school or any type of organization where I can share my story, uh, my path and my journey. I always liked going to the middle schools for career day, right? Here comes this Latino. What did he do, right? Well, he 53 years old. Did I ever think I'd be a mayor one day in my life? Not really. But you know what? If I want to contribute, this was my way of making contributions. And I'm going to sound like a politician, but here I go. Real change happens at the local level.
it's very
The
true.
five of us on the city council for Artesia, we impact our local residents more than anything else. Forget about what the federal government does, forget about what the state does. We impact our local residents more than any other body does, regarding the safety, the public health, the roads, the parks, the schools. This is where it all happens. And that's why I wanted to get a seat where I could be an advocate for change. But absolutely, I agree with you that it is about giving back your time, setting up a Saturday to talk about careers, to talk about opportunities, to educate kids on what's out there. How do you get that scholarship? How do you get that financial aid? You can do it. You can make a difference. I spoke to a group of young graduating seniors, about 15 of them. One of them is now a senior at a university in Kansas. He's a volleyball player, and he made it, and he figured out how to get the financial aid to get a degree. And he wants to become a doctor to give back to the people that need the help the most. And this is a 25-year-old from Norwalk, and he wants to give back. You ask him, why do you want to be a doctor? I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to help people. And that is so admirable, but it starts with his parents who instilled those values in him. So it all goes back to that core, those first 5, 6, 7 years of growing up. That's where it all begins. But face to face, local interaction, is key. You've got to put in the time. It's not just about writing the check.
Right.
It's not just about writing the check, because can you imagine if all the millionaires and billionaires got together and wrote the checks? We'd have no problems, right? We'd have all
Right.
the funding we need.
Hmm.
But you've got to interact. You've got to interact. You've got to give back, because money doesn't connect with everybody.
No, of course not.
But the time does. The time does. When you take that time, you spend it with 10, 20, 30 people, or even 2 or 3, it makes an impact, because they can walk away and say, hey, I learned this, I learned that. And I can call back to Mr. Trevino or Rene or Mayor Trevino, whatever you want to call me. And he'll help me. He'll answer some questions. He'll give me the right direction. And that's, time is so important when we choose to pay back in time. That's incredible.
I agree with you. You know, it's like a lot of people feel that you know, they don't try to strive to do anything better because they feel that, you know, they're not important. And one
Right.
thing that I learned when I was in the public school system many years ago is that the worst thing that a student can feel being in school is when they feel that they're not important, when they don't matter. And I graduated early when I was like
Mhm.
16. You know, I'm
Oh,
38.
wow.
And I was probably one of the few people of my class that graduated. Everybody else dropped out. And one of the reasons why they all dropped out is because of the lukewarm attitude that many of the teachers have. It's like,
Sure.
and their mentality is, if you pass, great. If you don't pass, great either. Because regardless, I'm gonna get my pension. So it's
Right.
like when the teachers become cynical and they don't take accountability, everything is, oh, if the student fails, oh, it's the board's fault.
Right.
Or no, the board says no, it's the teacher's fault. It's like, you know, everyone has to work together. It's like it's not the parents' job to educate their children when they're in school, and it's not the school's job to make sure that that the kids do their homework when they get home. So they have to work together, and they have to be held accountable. One thing that I see with a lot of places is that you have people that are empowered that they don't want to have any type of accountability. They always like to put the blame and you know, look at faults of everybody else instead of taking personal responsibility. So I think that's very important, where 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 the students and the youth feel that they have a purpose, because you know, after African Americans, Hispanics are number 2 in dropout rate.
Yeah.
You know, that's very sad.
It is sad. It is sad. And that's a very bleak statistic. It's something that really shows us that a lot of families are struggling. A lot of families will accept that as okay behavior, uh, meaning that, hey, I've got to drop out. It's not going well for me. I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to go make a few dollars a week, and I'm going to figure things out. And that is just the wrong road. It's the wrong road to take. It is something that we need to curb. It is something that we need to change. We need to embrace the students. I'm not a big fan of tenure, that after you're teaching for 3 years, you're protected. I think in the private sector, you know, we get evaluated as employees. We get evaluated every year, every 18 months. We're given periodic raises. But when you're in a union, or when you're in a position of tenure and you're protected, well,
Mm.
you're right. It, you know, kids fail, I still get a paycheck. 3 kids fail, I still get a paycheck. You know, what if we change the system
Mm.
and compensated educators, which is one of the toughest professions out there. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
It's not easy.
My
It's not
background's in
easy to,
education. I know.
yeah, it's not easy. I have the utmost respect for them. But there is that small segment that believes, hey, I do get my paycheck every month, you know, and that's unfortunate. They get complacent. They're not engaging. They're not working to solve problems. They're working to move the problems along. And that's not acceptable, because it leads to this mindset. Well, like you said, I'm not wanted here. I'm not important. They're not listening to me. but I'll go get a job, make $13, $14 an hour, and I'll have my freedom. And away they go. And we all know that's counterproductive.
Right.
It might be okay for now,
Right.
but it's counterproductive for the next 10 to 15 years because they're losing out on so many life skills. Their maturity goes into a different direction.
Hmm.
And my mother used to say, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are.
Right.
And that is absolutely true. We've got to embrace these kids and show them that they're special, show them that they're needed, and they're going to grow up to make a difference one day.
Exactly. And I definitely believe that if the teachers are harshly punished, I believe, I will take another step forward. I believe that if teachers, for example, were to just continue to let students fail, and fail, I believe that they should not get their pension. I believe that if you punish them with their pension, believe me, teachers are going to make sure that every student, succeeds.
Sure. Absolutely.
Because we can't have the students failing because it's affecting the whole country. It's like comparing America to other countries. We lack in education, academics, and mathematics, and everything.
And without interrupting you,
Sure,
but
guess.
look at those other countries, and when do they start educating those children?
When
they start in the home at a very young age, much earlier than we do here in the United States. And you see the difference because those parents are engaged, they are focused. If that kid gets a B, that's not acceptable. Here in the United States, we do have a level of complicity where, oh, you got to do better next time. Oh, you got to see, well, you got to work a little bit harder. It's not acceptable. You set the bar high and they will strive to meet it. You lower the bar or create this era of forgiveness. It's okay. Well, that's going to work against them because they're always going to look for that. Let me do a little bit less. Let me do the minimum and I'll get by.
Right.
And that becomes detrimental in life. It really does. It works against you down the road. And I agree. If you dealt with pensions, people would change. Or if you had a standard, if these collective bargaining units that represent the educators, and again, we're only talking about a handful. We're not talking about all of them because
it's not all of them, right?
No, not at all. God bless them. They do one of the toughest jobs in America. But if you were to take some of these educators and say, look, you've got to, in order to get compensated or to get that next level of pay, you've got to average X amount of B's and A's. You've got to get these numbers up. And there's nothing wrong with that, holding them accountable instead of providing them tenure and they go through the system. So I think there's always room for improvement. But this is dealing with kids' lives. This is dealing with their future. So this is something that needs to be, on the main stage. It needs to be talked about because it definitely will change the outcome, and that's the kids' future.
Right. And that's one of the things that I'm doing is that I talk about, issues that many people are either afraid or don't want to talk about. And one thing about Hispanic people in general, culturally, is that they have a lot of pride. It's like they don't want to talk about their problems. And what happens that it harms us. Because it's like, how are people going to know what's going on if people don't speak? People are not mind readers. It's like you have to speak. And I believe if there is more, another thing I was going to mention, there needs to be more resources into mental health. A lot of Hispanics don't have access to mental health. They either can't afford it or they don't have ways of finding it. And I feel that if there is more access into mental health to make it available or affordable, I think that will prompt people to seek help because we have a lot of domestic violence, sexual abuse, drug addiction, and undiagnosed mental illness, and a lot of it has to do is that people don't talk about their problems. Like you can't brush it under the carpet.
Oh yeah. No, mental health is a big factor, and it is something that needs to be discussed more openly. Resources do need to come. to the local levels for mental health, because life is stressful. Life is stressful. And when you are undocumented, when you are working a minimum wage job just to put food on the table, you've got more of an uphill battle than others may have.
Mhm.
And the mental resources, the mental health resources that are available, just it's there's not that they're not enough, it's just people don't know about them. They've got to engage, they've got to know where they can go. And many times cities can bring those resources into the community. We can bring them into the community, whether it's through a teen center, whether it's through the community center at the parks, or even Artesia has a small resource center where people can talk to other individuals about resumes, about mental health, about job interview skills, and entrepreneurship opportunities, how to become an entrepreneur and what forms you need, and how to take your idea into a business. And so mental health is certainly right up there. But the cities, the local leaders have to work on bringing resources in to say, hey, we're here. Here's our number. Here's our information. Give us a call. There is no judgment. There is no inhibitions. Give us a call. We'll talk. We'll set something up, because people need it. It's out there. The need is there. And I really think that will help a lot of these families turn things around, because Hispanics, we have some of the physical health challenges, right? The
Yes.
cholesterol, the diabetes, the high blood pressure.
Mhm.
So mental health is something that we can help to address and provide those resources.
I agree with you. And also, there needs to be more emphasis on proper nutrition and proper health, because it's like after African Americans, Hispanics have like the worst health. Like you mentioned. Like I was reading a couple of years ago, the city of Santa Ana ranked as the worst in the state in terms of obesity, and that's a
Wow.
predominantly Hispanic area, and that's
Yeah.
horrible. But a lot of it has to do with the food that a lot of the people are eating, that are very high in added sugars and sodium. It's
But
poison.
it is. It's, I mean, it's predominantly processed food, right? You
Mhm.
have lower income families. You got to feed a family of 4 or 5. You go to one of these fast food places. I'm not going to name names,
Okay.
but you go to a fast food place. You got items for 99 cents. You got items for $1.50. You spend $20. You buy a whole bunch of stuff, and the family eats. But you're eating processed food, stuff
Mhm.
that's high in sugar and glucose and syrups. It's bad in cholesterol, right? The sodium levels are high, and you see the effects. You see the effects down the road.
Mhm.
And it's about education. It's about, hey, you know purchase some food, cook it at home. It's much healthier. I love a taco just as much as anybody else does, and maybe I like them a little bit more than I should. But at the end of the day, Hispanics have this challenge, and some of it's financial,
Mhm.
some of it's cultural. We have very rich foods, but it is something that we need to keep front and center, because it again starts at a very young age. How many children are going to school that are obese?
Mhm.
And that's a big challenge. We gotta curb that as well right in the beginning. So it really is about making sure that families have a complete tool set, a toolbox of support in the local areas, in the regional areas. Between, we're surrounded by Cerritos and Norwalk and Hawaiian Gardens and Lakewood and Bellflower. There's resources within all 4, 5, 6 of those cities. There's resources that we can use. It's
Mhm.
not just, I live in Artesia, I can only get Artesia resources.
Right.
That's not the case. Everybody works together. This is a regional problem. It's a large scale problem, and we need to work together to solve it.
Oh, absolutely. And one final thought. Hopefully, once COVID gets resolved, I would love to probably go to Artesia in the near future and probably do a town hall meeting. Are you open to it? I would love to introduce Spanish United to the city of Artesia.
Absolutely. I would love to sit down with you and get you out here. We've got a wonderful group. We've got about 18,000 residents. So yes, we can set something like that up, get you out here and share some resources. We are working with the county supervisor, Janice Hahn, to bring in some wellness vans to our community for that very reason, to help with the early diagnosing of certain diseases and blood pressure and things of that nature. It is about resources, mental health. It absolutely, one more resource coming in, we would love it. Absolutely.
So, like I said, that's what Spanish United is about. We're here about, helping people. And again, if you know people that are willing to donate to Spanish United in terms
Sure.
of finances or goods or whatever, I'm actually starting a storage to try to get, food and water and whatever. So if you know people or yourself that's willing to donate or to contribute something, please let me know, because I'm in the service of serving the Latino public.
Absolutely. We can definitely work on something together. We'll get some information from you, and we can connect you to some people that can help and continue paying it forward.
Absolutely.
Not just in money, but in time and resources and goods. But absolutely, it's a united effort.
Exactly.
We've all got to work together.
Exactly, and that's all I asked for. Thank you so much for your time, Rene. It was really fruitful speaking with you. I got to listen to a lot of good points, and as soon as I'm done, I will not only email you the link to the podcast, but also text you as well, so you could share with whoever. And we'll definitely keep in touch.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. Thank you for the work you're doing. It's important. The Latino community is extremely special.
I
We have
agree.
such a rich culture and heritage. It is something that I'm proud to be Latino. I'm, Mexican. I don't know what you want to call me nowadays, whatever politically is correct, but hey, I'm proud of my grandparents for coming to this country the right way. They struggled. My mother was a single parent, and she struggled. But you know what? It's you pay it forward, and you work together, and you grab each other, and you all make that journey together. So thank you for what you're doing, and I look forward to staying in contact with you and joining up our efforts.
Definitely, it's a pleasure. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon, and God bless.
You've got it. Same to you. Thank you, my friend.
Bye bye.
Bye bye now.